okay, you can see that things are starting to sound more interesting as we progress. So what exactly happened here? You can see that our arpeggiator, as we built it in the last chapter, hasn't changed. It's the same thing we did on that previous chapter there. What I have done is basically I've gone a step further in the production process and customized this arpeggiator to my needs. So first of all, I've created a basic mix, tweaking the levels and panning the instruments to different sides the way I liked it. I've also added some processing there to keep all the volume, all the levels, and the different signals in shape, so to speak. And I have then created, and this is the thing that makes the most difference, is I've created 4 auxiliary channels, each with a different instance of delay designer. Those auxiliary channels are going to be the heart of the sound that you're going to get out of this. So these auxiliary channels we're creating here and what you put on them are very important in terms of how your music is going to sound like. So I've used delay designer because I wanted to stay within the Logic family. You can use any plugin you want, which basically opens up the scope of possibilities to infinity. There's so much you can do, and what I have chosen to do here is every delay designer instance has a very different sounding preset selected. So for instance, the first one has a basic 8-note delay with a very short feedback. The second one has a sort of an accelerando effect that happens when the taps get closer together as time progresses, and the other two have a pitch shifting effect, one going up, one going down. So basically the last 3 would provide the effect side of your sound here, while the first one adds a bit of a glue aspect to the whole thing. So if we now play this is what you get. Right, at the beginning of this video you saw me using this, playing a bit of a piano line on top of this. So you already have a very complex sound structure that you can use either as a background to something or as a piece of music in itself. So of course I forgot to mention this, but it is rather important. Of course I have created different send buses on every instrument to send your dry signal to your delay designer instances. Of course this allows you for a very detailed work on how much you're going to send to where, and you can either have that as a fixed setting where you decide, instrument number 1 is going to have so much on this one, so much on the other one, and instrument number 2 is going to be different, and whatever you tweak you leave and use that as your construct, which is fine. But the other way you could use this is using automation. Now with automation, the interesting thing is that you can create automation data for every send of every instrument, and this way you will have a very, very detailed control over what are you sending where and when. So you can see I have 4 lanes of automation data for every instrument, and if you think about the fact that the arpeggiator is in itself a random machine, a random construct, it gives you that every time you loop this, no matter how long or how short your basic sequence is going to be, you will always get a different result. It's obviously not going to be enormously different, but it's going to be slight differences that will make it very interesting. You can also automate the volume of every instrument so that you get more of different instruments at different times. So you have a very detailed control over what is going on in this. Now, if you add that to, for instance, a drum loop, which is a very defined and repetitive or structured thing, you get a very interesting thing. Listen. Well, you can see that playing around with volumes and the pans settings and of course the automation in your of your different send buses will basically give you, with a very short amount of music, with a very short bit, and with very rather relatively simple elements, you can make an enormously complex bit of music that will always sound different, and you can play around with this for hours, and play something on it, have an instrumentalist, somebody ad-libbing with either a vocalist or any wind instrument, a piano, whatever it is, and this will give you a great background to do stuff on. Or you can just have it as a piece of music in its own right. So basically, whatever it is you use it for, you get the idea that you can make very complex music with very little, using very little resources, which is always a very good thing. So I think that's all from me for today. Please comment, let me know what you think. If you have something to add, I'm very, very interested in any idea you might have. And I will speak to you very shortly in some of my other videos. Stay tuned, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you very shortly. Take care, bye.